This is the cutting edge there with you. I want you to bring the book, come at the Marcus Garvey thing and give me the book and say, Mota, I go on Amazon and I get this book for you because here you talk about it on the radio. And I get one for myself and I get one for you. Demonology by King James I. Bet you didn't know that King James wrote a book. Or he have some ideas in another book there. For those of you who don't know the book, I want to tell you, try to get a copy and looking at it. King James I, the same man where everybody in Jamaica have a book where is a version, King James, a theme version to what is supposed to be the Bible. Well, King James I was from Scotland. And King James I was a very superstitious person. Very superstitious. And King James I also gave power to William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare wrote a play in honor of King James I. And William Shakespeare had interests in businesses in this part of the world that transported Africans from Africa to this part of the world and America. Only people don't know that about William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare was a good friend of King James I. Well, you're not going to find that in the book still, when I tell you about, but it's just an anecdote. Since we did that talk about King James, I remember say, William Shakespeare was part of the team that helped to give you the King James version of the Bible. King James have a book. There's a book named Demonology. King James I, the same King James version, the same man who gave you the version of the Bible that most people read. A very open-eyed revelation to this man who gave us a version of the Jewish book and the Roman book. I say Roman book because from Matthew to Revelation is Roman. Most of the authors of that, what them call so-called New Testaments, were Roman aristocrats. I dare anyone to dispute what we are saying here now. Most of the authors of your New Testament, it was given to us by Roman aristocrats, namely Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. King James is one of the most known kings of England because of that book. And we read the book. We talk about the Bible. We read the Bible from Genesis 1 to Revelation 22. And we started to think about what we read. And think about what we read. And we realize that what we read was supposed to keep us in subjugation to a kind of thinking that has perpetuated amongst African people. And the version, the 500 years version that was given to African people during the time of slavery has helped to to pacify and subdue African people so as not to allow them to think about their disposition in life. Because the book is there to give you hope. The book is there to give you hope that when you die, things will be better for you and your loved ones who live according to the book. But if you don't live according to the book, you will die a bitter and lonely death as a slave, because you were born in sin and you were shaped in iniquity. You were born in sin and were shaped in iniquity. So African people, hold fast to that book. The version that King James gave us as their saving grace to reach that Netherland. And I'm not talking about Holland now when I say Netherland. I'm talking about that life that is prepared for us when we die. And if we live according to the book, we will find solace in our Savior's bosom, sitting at the right hand of that Father in heaven. 500 years since that book was given to us, that King James Version, and the situation after that 500 years has been the most horrible historical reference point in the black people history since that King James Version was given to us. The most horrific time in Africa, African mentality. And it still continues unto this day because of that book, that King James Version. Because after we hug up the book, remember them come to Africa with them gun and the Bible, the King James Bible. And we had land and land and more land and more land. And they taught us to pray with our eyes closed. And when we opened them, they had our land and we had the Bible, the King James Version. And it has been going on for centuries that African people has allowed a book to run them life for 400 years, nearly 500 years now. And as a collective group of people domiciled on these farm and slave plantation island and the Americas, we still hold fast to that book, that King James Version, that has not allowed us as a people, as a race, to gather momentum in the modern days of science and technology, economic wealth, social conditioning, and just being happy as a people, as a group of people that was here thousands of years before that book, that King James Version. Thousands. What were we doing before that book, that King James Version, take hold of our mind? What were we doing in Africa? Thousands of years with institutions and governments and science and just being happy. What were we doing before that book, that King James Version hold us in bondage up to this day, after 500 years of that book, that King James Version. We're still crying out for a Savior to come and save us from King James and his ancestors and his lineage and his sovereignty that has claimed the Western world and have it in the grasp, still in bondage. So when we're going to open our eyes, we see that that book, that King James Version, has not allowed us to move forward as a people. And when we look at the nations around us, look at the nations around us and see if holding on that book, that King James Version, has allowed us to be socially, politically, spiritually more loving and kind to each other. We holding on tighter than any other group of people upon that book, that King James Version of that book. We holding on upon it more than any other group of people in the world. No other group of people in the world take it so serious as African people. What we're taking serious, that book, that King James Version that has held our ancestors in bondage and slavery and has now caught us in this modern 21st century, still holding on words that was written by Romans 2,000 years ago to oppress a group of people that they held on land that was not theirs. Because the Romans did go into Africa, and they did go into what they now call the Middle East, and the Greeks did go into Africa and did go into what they now call the Middle East and colonize the people. And then they wrote a book to pacify the people so that the people will not rise up against them. And then they passed that book, generations after generation, to their sons and their daughters, till it reached King James the First. And that book, that King James Version of that book, after 500 years, is still the center of black people's consciousness and understanding of what life is supposed to be. Even though we look and say, we as African people, they are the bottom of any social order where you can think of in the earth today. African people, they are the bottom of it. And most of it is because of that book. That King James Version of that book is oppressing me up to this day. And now me are looking at the book and realize, say, this man when named King James, you talk about superstition. Yeah, all right. If a man mind, believe you me now, if a man mind stay a certain way, and him a write, because people are going to say, I know him write it or him translate it, is a version to where him did have before. Well, we now go on like we are idiot and not say it's not a version. It's a version. Because they did it before King James. I have many different versions before King James. But given that the people them 2,000 years ago who was colonized never have the ability to write down certain things unless them went to college and universities. Can you have some Jews like the scribes? They did have the opportunity to go to big school. Paul was one of them who could have write, who did understand the language and them something there. But given that him never write nothing pertaining to nothing more than him letters to the Europeans them, because most of him letter them was written to Europeans in order for change up the traditions of the Jews. Because that is where this so-called New Testament tried to do. The New Testament tried to do is bring a certain kind of European clarity to our old ancient Jewish traditions. So when Paul tell you say circumcision is not one of the flesh and all them something, and it's a shame for a man have long hair and woman must keep silent. All of these things is part of the scheme of Paul to switch around a culture that was before him and then emphasize this man who never know. He never know the man, they never see the man there yet. He must hear about the man. So he was a kind of what we call intellectual in them days there. But the people them who them claim write the core of this thing and tell you that these people was like fishermen and them things. Them man never know Greek. Them man never go to school. It's like you go ask. It's like you go take a man down a Greenwich farm where do fishing and tell him say, write down your experience in a French. Him can't write in a English much less. If you go write in a French because he is a fisherman. And obviously the language that is used in these books is one of people who you can clearly see is educated. So, who is Mark, who is Matthew, who is Luke, who is John? If you get to find out who these people is, you'll realize it's some highly educated Roman soldiers. I never soon say Roman soldiers. Highly educated Romans. Now, when you look on the book named Demonology and see the thoughts and the actions of this man, there's no way on earth a man like that, his thoughts could not influence what he was translating or the version that he was giving, because he had authority over the 42 faculty deans who he called to translate the Bible into the version that we now call the King James Version, including Shakespeare. These people who was called to translate it was of high standard, and they are translating from their own history and own cultural experience and old belief system that is coming from England to the Rome, from Rome to Greek. So there is a cross-pollination of intellectual thinking and languages that is finding and seeping itself into a book that we now call the King James Version. So, this man thoughts and thinking is written down in a book. And you are telling me, say, in all him thoughts and thinking, no seep out in him thinking in this next book, yeah? No, man. There's no way me could have write a book about my thinking and me translate a next book and have the power and authority to do whatsoever I want to do with that book. And some of my thoughts and thinking don't rub out in the book. After me I translated from one place to the next place to the next place. Because originally it was written because the people them 2,000 years ago couldn't write. And it was like say you have a full book. Like you have a book with Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, 1st, 2nd, Timothy, 1st, 2nd. You never have that in them days there. You never have them things in them days. So it's right, man, write it physically with them hand. They never have no printing press. So when a man write this with him hand, and the next man come and write the same thing with him and him look upon it and say, oh, that spell wrong, you know. What him didn't mean when him say that? And him go give him interpretation of what the man did mean. And then the next man come and say, oh, and this book is keep. Every time it go down the line, it's not printing press or print back the original script. It's not a printing press or print it. It's a man who write it down. And him keep writing it down for years and years and years. It a write until them come with something near printing press. Hundreds of years after, them come with a press. And them start to give you the till deal, this version, that version, and them come right down now to this guy now. This superstitious, this demonic thinker. Time I think demonic.
We are talking about the 50th anniversary of Emperor Selassie at the first visit to Jamaica and the philosophy that surrounds Rastafari. You know, I think the last time I was here, we was talking about multiple planet talking about Rasta need a new faculty of interpretation. I am totally in agreement with it because some of the thinking, after we get so much information and the information is presented to us, it is very difficult to hold on some little thinking and talking now where we used to hear from time there. Even the argument of a theocratic government is something where I feel Rasta should have let go of this theocratic government and its returned Messiah. You know, I think the returned Messiah thing is really something that Rastafari should have really looked into as a philosophy. You know, I don't know how the returned Messiah fit in with, I mean, people who use the Bible to validate Haile Selassie in a serious problem. Yes, because Haile Selassie cannot be more powerful or less powerful because you declare him what you want to declare him. Haile Selassie is Haile Selassie from the beginning, from his birth until now. So, I don't know, the philosophy, people will hold on for certain things even though them realize, just like Christians, because you have whole heap of Rastafari, we claim Christianity and use the philosophy of Christianity to validate Haile Selassie. And no, and I mean, really, it's like, if something no go so, something just no go so. Haile Selassie stand alone. Haile Selassie stand alone. There's no need to validate Haile Selassie with any book. The validation come through Rastafari liberty and the philosophy where I and I create round that liberty. The experience of I and I through the liberty in a Jamaica where we understand life to be ital. That is enough to validate I and I consciousness without having to turn to a book. Because the greatest part of Rastafari is not written. The greatest part of Rastafari is not written. There's no book that can hold the liberty of Rastafari. But yet still you have people who look into a book to validate not an experience, but an understanding or a belief. A belief in a man, and then turn the man into something that Western European philosophy claim. When we don't understand it from a perspective, we out in Africa, we in a Kemet. All we need is to draw from the root and stop draw from the branch. When the Greeks and the Romans them write to convert and write to suppress revolution and the revolutionary spirit of the people them at the time who was fighting against Roman and Greek domination. So when the Romans destroyed the temples in Jerusalem, and them destroy the temples and come up with a pacifist philosophy to maintain them supremacy all over the world, especially in that part of the world. Thus we have something named Christianity, New Testament. New Testament Christianity as taught to us by the Roman Catholic Church over the years. And the branches that come after the Roman Catholic Church, especially the Anglican Church, the Church of England, that bind us and grip us. That's why you have different perspective of Christianity in the West and in the East. A lot of things that the Western churches declare, the Eastern churches don't declare that. You know, we just come from a place where is the center and the heart and the root of most of the thinking that the Western world grab onto. The place known as Constantinople. Constantinople was named from Constantine. Constantine is the man where call these people and say, look here now, we have to come to one conclusion about this thing here that we declare. Constantinople, now known as Istanbul, is where these arguments came out. So now we have a religion that binds us to Constantine. This man who claimed that him get some, just like Paul, some revelation for turn the Roman Empire into Christian Empire. But in order to do that, he had to facilitate the Romans' thinking and the Romans' religious belief. So he never want to destroy the Romans' belief, but him still want to accommodate the Christian belief. So him call a big conference and say, look now, we have to come to some understanding about this Jesus that we create. We want to come to some understanding. So they move it away from the Jewish perspective or the Torah and carry it into what they call now a New Testament. The New Testament now draw from the Old Testament, according to them calling it Old Testament, and them use the Old Testament to validate. That's what the Romans them know, you know. The Romans use the Old Testament to validate them perception and concept of a man with them create named Jesus. Or Christ, Jesus Christ. Give him our last name too. So what we have here so in the Western world here is what Constantine and him friend them conjure up in a conference and decide, say, you must think this way and you must think that way. And if you think another way, you blaspheme. So, Rastafari come get caught up in that stream of ignorance also, where we use the same Roman Greek philosophy to look upon an ancient philosophy long before the Romans and the Greeks existed. Long before this guy got to Alexandria and burned down the library them and carry back the book them going to Greece, Macedonia and all these places. We're using their thinking and their understanding to validate our ancient liberty. And our ancient liberty cannot be written in books. It has to be lived through an experience. And if you live it through the experience, then you can write it, but some people write it and then try to live it. It's a madness. That's why you find most musicians and singers belt it out loud, but when it comes on to the experience of it, it's something else. and most of the musicians and artists and players of instruments will validate through their songs and poems and these things. They will validate it through this so-called New Testament. The New Testament that was placed there by the Romans to pacify the revolution, to make people don't burn down the parliament, make people don't look upon the Romans them as enemies, make people start to do things that them never usually want to do in a for them culture and for them religion. So them give the people them a brother named Paul. Paul is the architect of Christian beliefs and Christian thinking. And Paul write letters to the Europeans, them, the Romans, the Corinthians, the Ephesians, the Galatians, in order to give them a softer version of Judaism or Judaism, whatever they want to call it, or Hebrew culture. Paul softened them and said, this is what our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ want of us. That was not how the zealots was looking at things. That was not how Yeshua was looking at things. Yeshua and his followers were revolutionary people who decide that by any means necessary, they have to get rid of the Roman Empire out of Jerusalem. So them they have to kill him and bring now a New Testament to the people. And this New Testament now is what pacify the Jewish revolution against the Romans and the Greeks. Turn the next cheek, all the thing them. Give unto Caesar what is Caesar's and all these things. These things was written by Romans. Show me something different from what he said. This thing was written by Romans to pacify the revolution and the revolutionary spirit. Just like now. Just like now. Them use certain things to pacify them craziness and them madness. And when you rise up against it, you are called all sorts of names. All sorts of names. Rastafari people start to do the things them just like how the Christian them are do it. And start to think away they too. Because I hear Rastafari, brethren and sisters pass away and people say them gone to Zion. I never know say dead people in Zion. So I don't know if them a mix up Zion with heaven or heaven with Zion. I don't know it go. But the language change drastically. And that changed because there is some semblance of the Christian, Roman, Greek consciousness that seep into the movement that don't allow the freedom to manifest itself in the experience rather than in the learning. And the learning is really a problem because the learning no man I use to validate certain things. That every time him talk, him say, in the Bible it said this, and Selassie said this when Selassie never said nothing in the Bible. There's no quote of Haile Selassie in the Bible. If you want quote from Haile Selassie, you have to read the autobiography of Emperor Haile Selassie I, or selected speeches of Emperor Haile Selassie I, or quotes from Haile Selassie I. That is how you get what Haile Selassie said. But for God really know, go tell me say Haile Selassie say I for I, or Haile Selassie say something where you quote from the Bible. That is a learning thing. It's a learning thing that. It's a learning thing that. You understand? And we see this disconnect from the liberty and more now into the learning, the reading of the book. So people who read the book and start to use the book and start to say what happened in this part of the Bible is related to this time, and what happened to that is related to this time. Only if a Rastafari brethren and sisters do that, especially the Rastaman them. The Rastaman them love quote the Bible and tell you, say, then you see it and now see it there. You see Prime Minister, them telling you, so woman must rule over you, you know. I see it. The Bible, they don't tell you woman of. It's them kind of way the man use the Bible. A man have only pick him, say, then you know, see the Bible tell you, say, Israel shall be like sand on the seashore. So it means they must breed up woman, have whole heap of picnic without any limit. I must say, boy, the Bible tell you, say, Israel shall be like a sand on the seashore. And him can't afford to take care and pity them. So it's this right there. Because him learned that through book. If him did have that experience of the thing, he wouldn't really, as a matter of fact, he would have to learn how to take care and pity them. Because it's not a problem if you have no picnic, you know, because if you have the sperm, go ahead. But when you have picnic where come, you know, you can't take care of the picnic them, you should be arrested. No religion couldn't come teach me enough to have no picnic because I saw it go. I saw just set it. John said nothing. A human being carve them own destiny. Human beings carve them own destiny. Don't come blame nothing or put nothing upon Jah. So, we just say that maybe, we plan to say need to be really brought to the focus and the attention that Rastafari need a new faculty of interpretation. Because the interpretation we hold fast now, I carry more and more into the same something where we did a run from. A sister once told me that she can, if she did want to partake of all the things that she hear certain Rastas, she would have just go in a church. So when the purpose you go start to ball out Jesus Christ and this and that and start with Haile Selassie, you just go in a church and just ball out Jesus Christ. Because if you hold on to Jesus Christ, it don't make sense you hold on to Selassie. Where you hold on to Selassie if you talk about Jesus Christ? Jesus Christ is the Savior. So this argument about trying to connect this man with that invisible man over there, so that was created by the Roman, Greco-Roman thinking, and try to put it into perspective. If you hold on Jesus Christ, you will always, and if you say Haile Selassie Jesus Christ, you will say Jesus Christ continuously. It's like a double thing. You don't want to let go Jesus Christ, but you don't want to fully go in Haile Selassie. Yet till you have Rastafari, brethren and sisters, who totally, I say, look here, man, Emperor Haile Selassie, without the frills and the chills, without the New Testament and the Old Testament and any testament that come, because I had created that and I had redefined that and I had defined it as an African domiciled on these farm and slave plantation island for 400 and odd years and counting and climbing. I could now come make some little book that these guys threw around here, combine I. After I come rise up out of that now, I come say that Haile Selassie, that saying, that name, just saying that, give I a certain strength and give I a certain thinking that could have make I go through hills and valleys like a buzzrock warrior. We are go through planting up the vineyard and searching for the sun in the sky with all the heat, air and water and nature that surround us and the feeling of life, that energy, that flow. When we recognize the sun, when we recognize the water, and when we recognize air, A-I-R, the Trinity. Look at God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Ghost. You know, there's no dopey business around here. No dopey business around here about God the Holy Father and God the Son and God the Holy Ghost. Which Ghost? Where the mother there? How them let out the mother outside? That may show you how them put the thing away. What happened to the Holy Mother? Even the Roman Catholic them, no. Say the mother important and them say, Hail Mary, Mother of God. Imagine that. The Roman Catholic them say, Hail Mary, Mother of God. And you know what the Roman Catholic them say? Purgatory is controlled by Mary. You have to go through Mary before you can reach our son. It's like you sit down at the gate and say, watch out, where you are, my son? You have to go through me. Me's the mother. I am the mother of God. And that Roman Catholic them preach. You can't go further than that. Because the female, the feminine energy was always there to pronounce judgment in Africa. Because even in Ghana you go, most of the nation them, the chief, the male chiefs are elected by the female in the community. We live in a patriarchal society that we can recognize the part that the female play in the development and the progress of humanity. So when the guys them come and take out the female out of the whole consciousness. As they have man say God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Ghost. Then where the mother there? Where the mother there? Why God is the Father and God is the Son? Then why God turn Holy Ghost or God bottom? What a bottom it there too? When you really check it, what happened to the mother of creation, the divine energy, that feminine energy? We lose that. So anytime we talk, we just talk without that. You have the sun and the moon. The sun is the nearest star to the earth, 93 million miles away from the earth. But yet you have brighter stars in the sun, in the earth above, brighter than the sun. And the only reason why the sun looks so bright is because it's the nearest to it. You have many sun and many moon out there. One planet have all 11 moon around it. A man gone past the moon and I go further than the moon, you know. I send a spaceship past all Mars and gone way over. And I look through them telescope and I see things where unbelievable. And yet still we who recognize the I, highly I, almighty I, we who recognize that I, still a search for some name or some historical reference point to justify our liberty. The way you think Nyabinghi come from? Nyabinghi is a female. Out of Uganda is female energy that propel Nyabinghi. Yet the whole heap of Rastaman don't want to project that in the Nyabinghi. Because them feel say, I don't know where them get female enough to play drum and all them foolishness there. Well, to me, it's foolishness. I don't know if you're next man, to me, it's foolishness. I don't say what is the purpose. I don't, a man have to explain to me why a female can't play the drum. And I know why them say woman have to cover them here. Because the Bible said that. Paul, again, the learning out of the book decide the experience of Rastafari. When Rastafari gone past these things, the Nyabinghi is supposed to carry you beyond Paul, beyond Saul, beyond Solomon, beyond Sheba. The Nyabinghi is supposed to carry you beyond Melchizedek and all these orders that people rise up with because it's in the Bible. I mean, no woolly power one outside and no vex when we say these things. But don't vex, because I no vex. I just say that we did rise up a certain way and to keep the integrity, we have to make it evolve that certain way. But this is not evolution where we have said, this is detraction. This is detraction. What we are finding now is that people who learn about the thing are detract from the levity of the thing. I remember one time, we in a 12 tribe and them say, when we are talking about ital food, them say, it's food doctrine you preach. You don't know, it's not what go into you that defiles what come out of you. Rise, Peter, kill and eat. So all of these thinking come from learning Bible talk. So when you tell a man about ital levity, him say a foolishness. It's foolishness. But the Rasta man who did come originally, where the ital levity, where I eat pure vegetable and I eat no processes, no process that, is an experience him that develop for sure. You'll say, watch you know. We can be self-sufficient, self-supplying, and we can move naturally or itally in the healthy way. Him couldn't write that, but he might experience it. A guy come down and show you, say, you might read book, no, he tell you, say, boy, right now, you think food can help you. Food can help you, you mean? It's not what going to your body, it will kill you. It's what going on, you're going to kill you. Man, I'll preach, but him no wear locks because him tell you, say, does not nature teach you that? You're being gay. I have a whole lot of people out there, especially the people them who claim Christianity. Them don't think for themselves. They make books tell them what to think. You know, sometimes you can understand certain things in yourself, you know. And the book validate what you say. Some people go to the book to validate the book and then start to think what we're in the book. It's a weird thing. How can you go into a book to validate a book? If you read something in a book and you say, what is the evidence of such thing? You turn to the same book to validate the book. That is madness. You have to look from different sources to validate one source. You have to look for another source. You can't, the law of logics don't tell you, say, if a man said this, you're going to use the same man to validate what him say. Nah, man, not go so. So if a book said this, you're going to use the same book to validate what the same book say. I wonder if it's me that have no sense. Me I live in a bubble. Me don't know. But yes, me know. Me know some me not live in a bubble. And me know some me really not talk out of consciousness. But really, make we put it that way, you know. How can some people in the 21st century draw from a book and a mythology created by a Greek, some people in a Greece, and when them draw from it, them internalize it. I mean, there's so much gods in a Greek mythology. The head of them is Zeus, Z-E-U-S, Zeus. We have all of the female them in heaven. I mean, I don't know if it's him, the Islamic people, them take it off, I will say, if you blow up yourself as a martyr, you will go up and get 72 virgins. Because Zeus was known to have a whole heap of different virgins. I don't know why the gods them love virgins so. I mean, you can see it in the Bible too. A virgin get pregnant in the Bible. That is not that's not a story that was the original. That's not the original story. A virgin bringing birth is not the original story. Virgins has always found favor in the gods. Check all of the mythologies them. Roman mythology, Egyptian mythology, Greek mythology, Christian mythology. All of them have an idea and a concept where virgin bring children, bring a child. All of them, barring none. So it's not a unique story that people cannot say, oh gosh, I mean, it's the only time that ever happened in history where a virgin bring birth. It is not real. It's make it up. The idea of Neptune, God have to see where can move water and shake water. It's not real. Because I see when them say Moses part the Red Sea, more of them and say this and that. It's not real, not no go so. It's man create those stories. Black people have fall for the story like say, the guy them read, and me ask the virgin, what happened to Brother Nancy? Or we not believe it's a spider attack. Because if Brother Nancy was in the King James Bible, spider would be talking from now till like Miss Lou. But because Brother Nancy is not in the Bible, everybody say, oh, that is an African folk tale. If a spider attack in the Asante kingdom, but we know it's no spider not attack, but it's a spider is a story to a greater meaning. And you have to decipher the story. They call it parables. And so you decipher the story. So when it say a turtle or a tortoise and a rabbit went for a race, and we all know that the turtle moves slow and the rabbit moves fast. So when the rabbit speed and pass the turtle and reach clear on the road now, him say, "Cho, I think I can't reach me, man. Him go take a cool nap underneath one tree." Him drop asleep and the turtle just crawl, and the turtle win the race. What is that saying to you? Just like what it's saying in the Bible. The race is not for the swift, nor the battle for the strong. It's who can endure to the end. That is an old fable. If you know about Aesop fables, most of Aesop fables, this is Aesop was an Ethiopian slave. Most of them is using animals to project the character of human beings. Just like the hieroglyphics on the walls of the pyramids. When you say a hawk head and a human body. Just like in the Capricorn story, where you say a man with an ass body. It is not real. We must differentiate between what is mythology, what is lie, and what is real. There's no Neptune that rule the sea. Neptune is a image that is given as a human person. There's no what are them people, man? It's crazy. It's crazy. It is crazy. There is no what them call it, brother? Rambo. There is no Rambo. Rambo is a movie. There's no man named Rambo nor James Bond. There was I look at a youth one time and I'm looking at a magazine and I say Sean Connery, James Bond, and I say him as Sean Connery act James Bond. Him say, what do you mean Sean Connery act James Bond? James Bond are James Bond. Because in himself he really believes that it's not a man act as James Bond. It's James Bond, it's James Bond. How do you decipher these cryptic messages that is placed in black people's mind? There's no Nancy in a Sandy kingdom that is talking. It is not real. There's no Brother Tiger and Brother Tukuma. There's no Santa Claus. It is not real. There's no rabbit that is laying egg in Easter. It's not real. There's no Jesus in the sky waiting for you to do something wrong to come down and put you in fire. It is not real. It's people make that up to scare you. No Santa not coming down through no chimney. Black people in Jamaica have no chimney for Santa come down in. So which part Santa go? We just not talk about how as black people we internalize European mythologies and make it become a part of us to the point where we cannot conceptualize anything outside of that. Our view and perception is so narrowed into that space, the colonial master space, that whenever we see ourselves, it's almost like a self-hate develop, because we start to react, behave, think, analyze, criticize, doubt, believe in things that is we. We start to feel that something is wrong. But when them give with things, as we are talking about the the stories that the Greeks give us and the stories that the Romans give us without knowing who give it, individual who give it, and why what the reason why them give it. We make it become a part of us. These things is not real, but we internalize them, and to make it even become a part of it, them actually get artists. Because sometimes when you see things, it have more impression than when you hear the thing, you know. That's why television is such a strange concept when it comes on to how we view the world. But I remember that when them give the picture, and nobody no care how you're conscious. Nobody can tell me, say, this picture never define them reality. When you hear about the 3 wise men sit down on a camel, are riding from the east. The 3 wise men, no, there's no story in the Bible that tell you about no 3 men. None whatsoever. This story is given to you by an image that was created and painted by a European. Him paint 3 people on a camel, and a follow our star, and the star go right over. I mean, them things is some crazy story. There's no star that is moving and stopping over no house. There is no Hansel and Gretel. There's no Humpty Dumpty, no little egg was sitting up on a wall and accidentally fall and broke them. There's no Cinderella. It's stories, it's illusion, it's mythology. There is no Governor General of Jamaica. Nothing don't go so it's story. It's mythology. And we create it and we internalize it, and we really believe say the Queen represent we. And we perpetuate and we internalize it and we start become a we. That even in a parliament, them swear to the Queen and her successors. In a parliament. It is not real. I am not a West Indian. It is not real. I am not a West Indian. I'm an African. And I don't have a descent from no African neither. I am an African and I descended from no African. There's other races descend from we. White people descend from African. Indian people descend from African because Africans were the first people on earth. I had first. I know descend from no one. And them have we use some language too, where don't define we as the real people neither. How we think that? A man make a boat 500 foot long, 1 window, 1 door, and he march a pair of every animal. And I don't know a pair of every man, some 8 of them too, you know. It's not only a pair of every animal, you know. If you read the story, you know, it's about all 8 too. How the hell are the species of animal that existed in those times? And a man take a pair of every animal and put in a 500 foot boat. You have certain animals that is indigenous to certain parts of the world, like a kangaroo. The only place a kangaroo exists is in Australia. How did Noah get the kangaroo to go into the boat? Did he go to Australia and bring kangaroo, or did he do telepathic vibration? I am do like me a while ago, we fly from Kingston, come here, so. It's madness. Them have black people that think these way, and black people start to get so blissful in them ignorance. And if you tell them these things, they say, oh, you get everything from Muta. What you mean? That's not in the Bible. Brother Nancy not in the Bible. If Brother Nancy in the Bible, we don't believe it. We don't believe that spider talk, just like we don't believe that snake attack. And donkey attack to people like Mr. Ed. It's madness. Them have we on a mad trip. And we don't know how to come out like because we don't want things for we sell, because we're afraid everything for we sell. Them going to either call we mad. How much years more we have to go through the process of brainwashing, like so we brain dirty. And we have to wash it. And instead of we wash it, we have to make other people wash it for it. And we sit down and feel blissful in the ignorance. That a man sit down for hundreds of years that tell you say a snake attack to a woman. It must a white woman that. Because no black woman has to up and talk to no snake. Snake attack, she gone. Simple. And we actually believe that. So the snake did attack to her, and then the snake get cursed. And the snake, it say, cursed shall be the snake, and the snake shall bruise the heel of the woman. That means it's now the snake will start crawl upon the ground, you know. You don't really believe that. You don't believe that. The snake used to stand up vertical, and then get cursed and start to crawl upon the ground. It's nothing don't go so. Santa Claus is a pedophile, he's pure chill for them deal with, like one them sit on him lap. Really? Oh, we get away there. Oh, we actually believe these things and live out these things like it's real. The people them who give with these stories don't believe them. So how them get we to believe it? And the things them that we're supposed to know. The things that we're supposed to know, we don't know. Because when we hear the things that we're supposed to know, we reject it. Yeah, because we are saying, where you get them foolishness from? Damn foolishness. You want more damn foolishness than a man that tell you about snake attack to somebody? I mean, really, you want more foolishness than that? You tell me it's a man sitting up in the sky and wait for me if I do something wrong, that him can come down and say, no, come show me in a pit with whole heap of fire, and then tell me say him love me, compassionate. Brother Nancy not real. There's no spider that is talking in Africa. It's a story. So all of you know who did believe say the African them are idiot because them have spider. And the brother did say it to you know. The brother did say it. The brother did say them think they are foolishness. African foolishness that. The spider is not a real spider. If you go to Asante, which is where the story originated from, and Nancy's story, in the Asante kingdom, in Kumasi, which we have been to many times, them tell these stories, them have books of these stories, and them put a spider in there. The people, them don't believe that a spider was talking. When you listen to the Brother Nancy story, you get a thinking, you get a meaning out of the story. It is not telling you must draw a spider that is talking to a tiger. Brother Tukuma. It's crazy. But what if you do? We have to take the blow and to pass on the thing. Whosoever will may come. We not try to force nobody. But we just say, look into what we are saying and see if what we are saying make any sense. Look into what we are saying. Don't just throw it like, Mutabaruka damn barefoot boy, I walk up and down barefoot. You don't see a madman that. Look into what we are saying. And we are saying, go placidly amid the noise and ears and remember what peace there is in silence. So if you understand what we are saying, you have to silence yourself. And weigh what we are saying between what them tell you and what we are saying, and see if what we are saying make any sense at all. Not any sense at all. We're not talking about 6 cents, nonsense, or any sense. This is the cutting edge on RFM. I want you to know that a house is not a home. We have to find solace in the comfort of each other. And if you're in a house with someone who reject comfort and joy and well-being and just calmness of spirit, then you really have to check yourself. Yourself. Not the other one. Check yourself.